The edge of human border zone 7 was quiet, calm, and full of darkness. Most alien travelers avoided this place because many strange stories were told about it. Some believed humans were gone, others believed humans were hiding. But no one had proof. Still, the Varkan Dominion scout fleet entered the forbidden space with full confidence. They thought the warnings left behind by humans were nothing but old fear tricks. In front of their ships floated a broken metallic sign, spinning slowly in the cold vacuum. It was old, cracked, and covered in burn marks. But one message still glowed in red letters: "Do not enter." Humanity is not asleep. The Varkan captain laughed when he saw it. To him, humans were primitive creatures who vanished centuries ago. He believed the galaxy had moved on and humans were only a memory. But the moment the fleet crossed the invisible line, the scanners flickered strangely. Weak signals appeared and disappeared like beating hearts. Slow and steady, the Varkan crew felt confused, because no star system should produce signals like that. Then their lights dimmed for a moment, and a soft vibration passed through the ship. It felt like something massive had moved in the dark. Something old and aware, probably a glitch, the captain said. But even he felt a sudden chill. One of the scout ships, V-14, moved slightly ahead of the formation. It sent out a radar pulse into the darkness. They waited for the return signal, but nothing came back. Then V-14 vanished from every screen. No explosion, no sound, no debris. It was as if the ship had been erased by a giant hand. Clean and silent, fear spread through the crew. The communication officer tried calling V-14, but only static came back. In that static, a whisper slipped through a human voice. Calm and cold. "Turn back," it said. Nobody understood how a human voice could enter the secure channel. The captain's hands tightened on his console, but he refused to admit fear. He ordered the fleet to push deeper into human space. He wanted to prove that humans no longer mattered. Suddenly, the stars around them began to fade. Not because of clouds or dust, but because something huge was blocking the light. Something that had been sleeping in the shadows. A ship too large to belong to any known species. Its shape could not be seen clearly. Only its outline, a black mountain floating in the void. The Varkan crew stared in silence as the sensation of being watched grew stronger. Their hearts raced, their breath slowed, as if gravity itself pressed on them. The captain finally shouted into the darkness, "Identify yourself. Show yourself." His voice shook, even though he tried to hide it. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then a deep rumble echoed across their comm systems. Like something ancient was waking up, stretching after a long sleep. The last thing they heard before the lights on their ship flickered again was a human voice, calm, cold, and full of warning. "You were told not to enter." The Varkan fleet floated in frozen silence as the darkness shifted around them. Every radar screen, every scanner, every sensor showed nothing but black. Yet every crew member felt something moving, something too large to measure. It moved without sound, without light, without heat. Like a ghost made of metal, the captain tried to steady his voice as he repeated his order. "Identify yourself," he said into the empty channel. But no answer came, only the soft crackle of static that felt alive. The crew waited, their eyes searching the void. Their breaths shallow and shaking, then the darkness rippled. As if a curtain was slowly being pulled aside, and the outline of a colossal ship emerged, its hull swallowed the starlight. Its edges sharp like a blade shaped by old wars, it was not a normal battleship. It was something older, deeper, built with purpose and anger. A whisper spread across the Varkan bridge. Some recognized the shape from ancient images. Some remembered the warnings written in abandoned human ruins, and some simply felt their blood run cold. Because they knew this was no dream, this was human engineering at its highest form. The ship had no lights, no markings, nothing that revealed its age or origin. But its presence alone pressed on the mind like a storm. It radiated weight, authority, and silent rage. As if humanity itself was staring at them from the darkness, one of the Varkan officers whispered, "This cannot be human," but deep inside everyone knew it was. Only humans created machines with this kind of terrifying beauty. The massive ship drifted closer, moving with impossible precision, not a single thruster fired. Yet it glided like it was part of space itself. The Varkan scanners tried to analyze it, but every scan failed. The ship absorbed every signal like a black hole, giving nothing back. It was technology beyond anything the Dominion had ever seen. Then, without warning, the Varkan flagship's lights flickered. The gravity field inside shifted as if the ship was being pulled by invisible threads. A deep, cold voice echoed across every channel. "You were warned." The voice was human, calm, and terrifyingly controlled. Before the captain could respond, the giant ship vanished. Not by jumping to warp, not by accelerating. It simply faded back into the shadows as if it had never existed. Seconds later, one of the Varkan cruisers exploded into dust. No beam, no missile, no visible attack, just silent disintegration. The fleet panicked, engines powering up, alarms blaring across every deck. But something else moved in the dark, fast and quiet. Smaller shapes now circled them sleek. Predatory and deadly, human strike craft. But unlike any ship seen in known space, they moved like shadows. Leaving no trails, no heat, only silence, the Varkan crew realized the truth too late. The humans were not extinct, they were not sleeping. They were waiting, and now, the galaxy's warnings were coming true with every second. The unseen human fleet tightened around the intruders, preparing to deliver a message the Dominion would never forget. The captain finally understood the meaning of the ancient sign. But understanding came too late. They were already in human territory. And the humans were already awake. Panic spread through the Varkan fleet like a wildfire in the dark void. Their engines glowed bright as they tried to pull away from the human border. But the space around them felt thicker, heavier. As if something was holding them in place, their screens flashed warnings in red, and their navigation systems spun in confusion. Nothing worked the way it should, and fear began to replace arrogance. The Varkan captain shouted for calm, but his voice trembled with every word. He had never faced an enemy he could not see. He had never fought a fleet that attacked without sound or light. He had never felt so blind in open space. And for the first time in his career, he understood what true danger felt like. Then the darkness shifted again. The giant human ship reappeared. Closer than before, silent as a shadow, its massive hull blocked the stars like a planet made of metal. Every sensor screamed warnings. Every crew member felt their throat tighten. It moved with purpose, with patience, like a hunter circling a wounded animal. A human voice echoed once more through all Varkan channels. The voice was calm, controlled, and colder than deep space. "You crossed the line," it said. "Now you pay the price," before the captain could reply. One of his destroyers vanished. No explosion, no light. No energy surge, just gone in a blink. The crew stared at their screens in horror as the missing ship turned into a silent gap in the formation. It was as if space itself had swallowed it without leaving a trace. The captain demanded answers, but his crew had none. Their scanners only showed strange distortions swirling where the ship once stood. The humans were using technology the Dominion had never seen. Technology that broke every rule of physics the Varkans understood. Another cruiser flickered, then twisted unnaturally as if pulled by invisible chains. For a moment, it stretched like soft metal, bending in ways no ship should bend. Then it shattered into dust that drifted into the void like sand. Not a single escape pod launched, not a single distress beacon activated. It was complete annihilation, clean, quiet, absolute. The Varkan crew felt their courage crumble. They were explorers, warriors, conquerors, but this was something else entirely. This was judgment. This was punishment for ignoring the warning written in human space. "Retreat," the captain finally ordered. His voice broke, his hands shook, but he still tried to save the fleet. But the navigation systems refused to lock onto any exit route. Space around them bent in impossible patterns. Like the humans were reshaping the battlefield with a thought, the human voice returned, deeper and even colder than before. "You were told not to enter. You were told to stay away. Now you learn." The Varkan flagship trembled as a massive shadow passed beneath it. The enormous human supership drifted under them like a dark moon, its surface lit by soft red lines that pulsed like a beating heart. And every Varkan soldier understood the truth. This was not a patrol ship. This was not a scout. This was a guardian, a gatekeeper of human territory, a machine built for one purpose: punish intruders. And they had stepped right into its domain. The Varkan flagship drifted helplessly above the massive human guardianship. Every crew member stared at the dark metal surface below them. It looked ancient yet alive, with glowing red lines pulsing like veins under armor. The ship was not just a machine, it was a warning made real. A silent reminder that human space was not empty, and never had been. Then the Guardian's hull began to shift. Sections unfolded like the petals of a metal flower. Gigantic panels moved in slow, controlled patterns, revealing deep layers inside. Each layer pulsed with quiet power, old but unbroken. The Varkan officers realized they were watching a ship awaken from centuries of sleep. A deep vibration traveled through the void. It was felt more than heard, like the heartbeat of a sleeping giant suddenly rising. The Varkan captain tried to give orders, but his voice failed him. His words died in his throat as he watched the impossible happen before his eyes. Along the Guardian's spine, hundreds of thin beams of red light ignited. They were not weapons firing, they were sensors activating, scanning every ship, every life form. Every thought of escape, the Varkans felt naked, exposed. As if the ship saw through their minds, their secrets, their fear, their arrogance. Nothing remained hidden. The human voice returned, calm and cold as ever. "You did not respect the line. You did not respect the silence. So now." The Guardian wakes. The Varkan fleet trembled as space around them distorted again. Not from attack, but from the Guardian preparing its systems. Lines of ancient human script appeared across the Varkan screens. No one could read it, but they understood one thing. This message was not meant to threaten. It was meant to judge in a desperate move. The Varkan captain activated the ship's surrender codes. A bright blue signal pulsed outward, the universal sign of retreat and mercy. But the signal didn't travel far. It vanished as soon as it touched the Guardian's shadow. The Varkans realized the truth. They were prisoners in open space, held by a ship that obeyed no rule but its own. Suddenly, the red lines across the Guardian's hull brightened. The light grew stronger, forming patterns like ancient runes of fire. These markings were not for show, they were activation warnings. Every system on the Guardian was coming online: weapons, engines, shields, all awakening like limbs of a giant rising from the ground. One of the Varkan officers whispered in terror, "This is a war machine," but another officer shook his head slowly. "No," he said, his voice trembling. "This is more than a war machine." The Guardian ship shifted its position, rising slightly until it faced the entire Varkan fleet. Its presence pressed against their minds like a silent storm. They felt small, fragile, unimportant. The galaxy always believed humans were weak, scattered or extinct, but this ship proved otherwise. The humans had never been conquered. They had never been defeated. They had simply stepped away from the galaxy, leaving behind machines like this one to guard their borders. And the Guardian never slept, not for a single moment. The Guardian hung in the dark like a waking titan. Its red lines glowed brighter, sending long beams of light across the Varkan fleet. Every alien ship trembled under its silent presence. The Varkans had crossed the forbidden line, and now the final judgment was beginning. The human voice echoed again through every channel, cold, controlled, and without any emotion. You were warned. You entered anyway. Now the galaxy will remember your choice. The Varkan captain fell to his knees as the words filled the bridge. He understood now that the humans had not disappeared. They had simply changed the rules. They did not announce their return. They did not negotiate. They only protected their borders with absolute power. The Guardian's hull split open again, revealing a massive circular chamber inside. From that chamber, thousands of red sparks floated upward like fireflies. The Varkan officers watched in confusion. Then the sparks formed lines, then symbols, then patterns. It looked like the ship was writing something into space itself. A warning, a message, a record of what was about to happen. Then the Guardian finally moved, slowly, like a mountain shifting after 1,000 years. The light across its hull intensified until the entire ship glowed like a burning star. And the Varkans understood what it was doing. It was judging them, not with one attack, not with one weapon, but with a technology that erased ships cleanly, silently, perfectly. Ships that entered human territory without permission faced only one fate. And that fate had now arrived. The Guardian released a wave of invisible energy. The wave did not explode, it did not flash, it did not burn. It passed through the Varkan fleet like a sheet of cold air. The Varkans felt their ships shake as the wave touched them. Then the shaking stopped and silence returned. For a moment, they believed they were safe, but then one ship deactivated. Its lights went dark, its engines shut down. Its power core shut off, then another ship darkened. Then another, then another. The wave had killed their systems completely, leaving the ships frozen and defenseless. The Varkan fleet floated like statues in space. No movement, no sound, no hope. The Guardian had disabled them with a single pulse. Not to destroy them, but to send a message to the galaxy. The human voice spoke again, softer and colder than before. Return to your empire. Tell them what happens to intruders. Tell them what wakes in the dark. A bright beam of light wrapped around the flagship. It did not burn the ship. It pulled it gently away from the Guardian. The Varkans felt their ship being pushed back across the border they had crossed. Once they were outside the human zone, the beam released them. Their systems flickered, then restarted slowly. They were alive, but broken, shaken, and forever changed. Behind them, the Guardian drifted back into darkness, its red lights dimmed until they vanished completely. The Titanic ship faded like a ghost, returning to silent watch over human space. It had shown its power, then returned to sleep. A sleep that was never truly sleep, a watch that never ended. The Varkan captain stared at the darkness where the Guardian had disappeared. He knew his empire would not believe him. But it didn't matter. The galaxy would learn. Every species would learn human territory was not a myth. Human strength was not gone. Human warnings were not empty. They had ignored the message once. They would never ignore it again, and far behind him, hidden in the endless dark, the Guardian waited. Silent, ancient, and ready for the next intruder who dared to test human space.